Hello, everyone, and welcome to Oz by Drone. I'm Greg.
And I'm John. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for joining, everyone. First of all, what's been happening this week? It's been an interesting week for me. I've been out doing a little bit of flying again. What about yourself, John?
Same deal, mate. We've had a week of training on board. We had some CASA flights on Friday, a couple of days ago. Not everything went according to plan, unfortunately. A couple of failures with the aeroplane. But anyway, look, it was a great week to get some good training in, and I'm glad that you're on the horse, mate, making a few dollars with the blades. That's
yeah,
excellent.
having some fun and enjoying it.
That's good.
So just as we get started today, just a reminder, if anyone wants to use the hashtag question, hash question, that'll get our attention in the chat. We will try and have Mel putting some comments up, but it's not working at the moment. So in a little while, I'll do some other magic. And Mel is telling me that there's lag on the audio due to buffering. I have no idea why this is, but every single week we start our stream and initially we get something happening on the screen where the YouTube is telling us that we're not sending enough data, but it's certainly going out of here, and we restart the stream and so on and so on. But here's something important to remember. After the show is over, I'm going to re-upload a copy that we're recording locally, and in the top right-hand corner, you will see a link at the very beginning of the video to that recording, so you can play it back without any of this lag. So apologies for that.
All right, on with it.
Okay, so let's get started. I can see that Mel is actually sending some chats. I think it's slowly coming in, really, really slowly. My computer is just very, very slow to update today. But
long
anyway,
weekend, mate. Long weekend. It always happens.
It must be. So let's get started. As always, our first piece of the day is the
Top
news.
of the news. Okay, filmmaker, 69 years of age, was jailed for 6 years in Cambodia for flying a drone, has returned to Australia after receiving a royal pardon. Thank you very much. Australian filmmaker James Rickson was touched down on Australian soil after Cambodia's authorities pardoned his espionage conviction and deported him from the kingdom.
And we've got that playing now. We've got Greg talking now.
Okay, good.
A lot of people have been very critical about how your case was.
Sorry, James.
I don't know. I haven't even seen a newspaper. When I was on the plane, I managed to read a couple of magazines and to find out about a whole bunch of children who were trapped in a cave somewhere in Thailand. I don't know what's going on in the world. I've been completely cut off from the world. There's a lot of thank yous necessary to my family in particular, some of who are here right now. They've supported me enormously the last 15 months, and without their help, I don't think I'd be here. I've also got to thank the media, because I think without the media, there wouldn't have been the pressure placed on the Australian government to help me out. I also need to thank Prime Minister Hun Sen in Cambodia for recommending to the King that I receive a pardon for a crime that I did not commit. I've always loved Cambodia. I don't love Cambodia any less now as a result of what has happened. In fact, if anything, I love it more. And I'm looking forward to going back and doing all I can to help get and
There we go. So
Now,
look, that's sorry.
I'll jump in right away, Greg, on this one, because one of the things we want to establish too is you don't really know. They said it was a political rally or a political meeting of some kind. You're never going to really know what that was, perhaps. Look, he's a guy that loves Cambodia. He's a great filmmaker. Does a lot for tourism in Cambodia, I believe, again. But if he'd had some comments about human rights at any stage, yeah, they'll lock you up for doing that kind of thing. I question whether he was locked up more for the drone activity and flying, or more for the fact that he's a documentary filmmaker. So I'll leave that up in the air for everybody to decide. But if he was a recreational drone user, accidentally flew over something that might have been sensitive, would he have been locked up for 6 years? Hard to tell.
Yeah, from what I understand, he was convicted of being a spy.
Yep.
And what he actually did, he was at an event, a political rally, which was, protesting against the government, and the people that were protesting was a political party that had been banned or dismissed by the government, and therefore, that's the background as I understand it.
Well, I think that's probably right. And look, if he's in with that movement, there'd be reasons to lock it. It's basically, a bit of propaganda in there as well, in terms of the pardon. The whole thing can be very well used as a bit of a staged event. But look, you don't know a lot of these things. One thing we probably should say, folks, is if you're in another country and you're flying, be really, thoughtful about what the rules are there and whether you can fly there at all. I remember when you wanted to fly in the Philippines, Greg, we went through all of the various aerodrome charts. You could fly a UAV there, but where you could fly at the proximity to the airport, you got to do double the amount of work checking up on stuff and making sure. And then when you get there, ask. I mean, ask a local. If there's other people that fly around there recreationally, you wouldn't necessarily have a problem. But be very, very careful.
Absolutely. So let's move on from there. Next one we've got is we got a punch up, and only in New Zealand would this one happen. Let's have a look. We got a couple of photos. So this is relating to backlash against a proposed restricted area for commercial drone testing at Central Otago Airport. And there was a public meeting where they were talking about this, and the guy that we see on the screen at the moment is the Skybase Chief Executive, Michael Reid. He was unable to complete his presentation. Now, to be fair, it wasn't a physical punch-up, but a lot in the media have called this a verbal punch-up, and it got very, very heated. He was trying to get approval for a restricted airspace around this airport because it was a particularly good one for unmanned aviation, low wind, high sunshine hours, low rainfall, and generally low quantities of aircraft traffic in the area. But the people who didn't like the idea, they said it's the wrong place, and they basically told him to go and do his testing in the Australian outback in the desert.
Okay. So we're going to see a bit of this too, I suppose. Have you got a clip there for it, other than just the photo?
Unfortunately, no. But we got the photos only, yeah. Look,
locals make a good point. No one wants to live next to an airport, prison, waste recycling centre, all of that stuff. And look, I understand it. People who live in the area are worried about their house prices and all sorts of stuff. Interestingly, though, a suburb of Canberra in Australia is trialling deliveries at the moment. They're quite happy. They're quite excited about being able to get their prescription medications dropped off at a landing zone in the street. There's always got to be a way these things are done. I wonder how much background the local people did in terms of what the impact would be. On an aviation point of view, having a testing site at an airport makes perfect sense. If it's a low used airport, you've got a nice runway, the manned traffic can integrate perfectly at an airport. Airport is the best place to have drones and manned aircraft mixing because there's a communication between them. You know exactly where you are. I'm landing on runway 16. I'm good.
And that's the stuff they're wanting to test. How does aviation work together hand in hand with unmanned aviation?
Yeah, look at it's interesting. They probably haven't looked at perhaps the economic benefit of it in the long term, but at the same token, let's go somewhere else and do it. There's certainly an argument for that. Go somewhere in wide open space. Yeah. Off we go.
And moving on from that, we've got the next story, Astro.
Transport Canada has issued a special flight operation certificate, a permit for the operation of an unmanned air vehicle system for its passenger drone project. Excellent. They've got a permit to start flying, and we're going to aviation. They're not like ours in some way, flying on its own without a pilot in there, as you can see. You're going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah, look, I'm pretty excited by this. This was only a test flight, obviously, without any passengers there. But very, very exciting.
One of the things, Greg, that's really interesting is that for startup companies that were going to develop something like that, to get a GoFundMe project, and we've had guys build bathtubs that they fly in with quads on them, attached to it. You've seen that video. Guy flies down to the local shops in a plastic bath. The truth is that because you can use an off-the-shelf autopilot and electric motors that are available, and we've got batteries that are available, you can basically build these things in your garage. And if you're good with fiberglass, you can make it look pretty like that. But that aircraft you just saw flying there probably had a Pixhawk in it.
It probably did. But I'm really excited by this because it is the first aircraft of its type that is certified to carry passengers that I know of. Are there any others?
Look, there's probably not certified, But remember, reading that properly, issued a special flight operations certificate for the permit of an operation. So what that allows in terms of the special permission and how far that goes, whether they're allowed to fly up to a certain height and certain
You're
distance.
getting into your aviation brain again.
I know. Well,
you're looking for the disclaimers.
A permit's not is a permit, you know. So
Yeah.
it's a special flight operation certificate. But I'll give it to them. That's a movement forward. That is a good thing.
Absolutely.
And
from there we move on to the next topic, solar.
We have solar. NUS team enables solar-powered drone fighter team from the National University of Singapore, of course, where they are absolutely marching ahead, has achieved a major step forward in stretching the capabilities of a quad by powering flight solely by natural sunlight. And wow, we are going to see that stuff too. I mean, obviously not necessarily a manned aircraft straight away. We really need to get lanes that they can fly in all through the urban areas and patrol and conduct their activities using various aircraft. So big stuff happening in Singapore. I'd love to have a look at it myself.
Yeah, this particular one, though, it's still early days for it. I understand it has done flights over 10 metres in altitude. They're not obviously getting too high too quick. Obviously, with that kind of footprint, it's looking like a floating sail. So.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, you know, there's early days because of any sort of weather at all that sort of airframe would struggle having so much, surface area. But look, hey, all again, marching forward. Lovely.
Okay. Let's have a look. We got another really cool one over here. We've got a delivery. We talked about deliveries before. You briefly mentioned it.
That's right. But guess what? In Iceland, pie in the sky. Iceland embraces growing drone delivery service. About half of Iceland's capital can now receive orders of various fast foods from the air using drones dispatched by one of the country's biggest e-commerce businesses. Now, talking about flying in the Australian outback being ideal for testing, Iceland. Where are you going to find people wandering around in unprotected clothing in Iceland? No, they're going to be in cars. And I tell you what, though, it's going to be the weather up there is absolutely ferocious. I don't know if you're waiting for a hot soup and a hot pie on a cold day, the wind's blowing outside at 60 knots. It might take a while to get there.
Yeah, the subtitle for this story, Pie in the Sky, but let's have a look at the video.
Yeah, let's check it.
In a drone and fly it to the whole progress. It flies. Fire just goes down and the customer takes
and
the
it drops
product
it on the ground.
I think that is absolutely awesome. Apologies for the sound dropping in and out of that video. I edited it together because it was a much longer video originally, but you can get the idea. Sending it down by wire is something that I hadn't seen elsewhere. But here's the interesting thing. As he said, about 50% of Iceland is now able to receive deliveries via this method.
That's outrageous.
I know.
I know.
And we can't get a sausage sandwich from Bunnings.
I know. Well, you know, there's a whole other issue too, man. Half the world can't even get a decent meal, and here we are. We're having ours flowing in. I mean, it's a novelty thing.
It is novelty, but it does serve a purpose. It does serve a purpose.
I mean, it shows you what the need is. Perhaps what we're looking at is like Amazon. Fast food industry is one of the world most cashed up businesses in the world, and so they've got money to spend on this R&D. Perhaps someone else hasn't. Perhaps the pharmaceutical people are going to wait until the fast food guys get it right before they deliver medicines. I'm far more interested in delivering medicine than I am, in a situation where it needs to be there quickly, than delivering a hamburger or a sausage sandwich. But hey, carry on. Look, let's take it all. It's fantastic. Have a laugh. And I'll be the first. If they come to hit my place, I'll order one for sure. I just want to see that thing drop my food. What's it going to cost? Who knows? Probably cheaper any other way.
Yeah, speaking of flying over people, the next story is actually an interesting one. So the FAA has approved a waiver for drone operations over populated areas in states impacted by Hurricane Florence.
Yep.
That's been done in collaboration with Virginia Tech and State Farm.
Yep.
Which I think is, it's wholly appropriate.
Yep.
It's a good thing.
Now, just to give you a little bit of a scope on that, when we flew Cyclone Debbie with Anthony Marsh and I went up there in a Cessna, and we had a couple of Phantoms with us to map that cyclone area. The Army was up there with their Shadow 150. Now, this was quite a large 23-kilo fixed-wing aeroplane, and they couldn't get approval to fly over Propolis area, even though the area had been evacuated. Now, it doesn't say in our regulations in Australia that you can fly over a populous area if it's been evacuated. You could argue if it's populous or not, but there's no definition of that. And what we did was we secured each area we were going to fly with the quads. So we just had the quads working small sections, flying those sections while there wasn't anybody around. And I'll tell you what, when you're flying over a cyclone-devastated area, mate, it's hard to see what sort of damage a falling quad could make on some of the houses we saw. They're in ruins already. So there's obviously emergency surfaces, rapid impact assessment, all that stuff. I look at it. That's just a common sense thing. Get a waiver going. They need it.
But it's good. It's good.
Oh, of course it is. But it has to. We have to make a note of it. We have to see how things are going forward. And I was going to have a little talk later about perhaps throwing in some extra news about REOC and REPL holders and how that relationship works based on your experience that we've had this week. Anyway, we'll move forward with that later.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I'm going to do something a little bit out of sequence. We've got three or four more news stories, but just to make life interesting, I'm going to go and move on to a guest. But it's not the guest. It's not the guest that we had advertised. Silvertop Flyer, unfortunately, has gone AWOL, and we don't know where he is. So Spike, who was here last time, has jumped in, and we're just going to put him up on the screen. Except we got a question mark where his head's meant to be. I don't know why that is.
I'm not Spike.
Hang on.
Here he is.
Here we go.
I can hear him.
I can't hear him yet.
Hello. Oh, there we go.
There we go. We have a Spike.
In fact, everybody.
There we go. Spike, look, thanks for jumping in as a quick little guest. You mentioned that you'd had some magic happen with your aircraft, your Mavic.
Yeah, yes, just here. We last night I did it actually, and we've managed to fix the gimbal cable ribbon cable, whatever. And she's back up and running. I haven't tested it yet. We haven't had the weather. It's a bit of a thunderstorm out there at the moment. It hasn't fired up yet, the thunderstorm, so we might be able to get it out there after the show. But yep, we've had some success. It recalibrated in startup mode, so I'm really happy about that. And this time I'll be taking your advice, Greg, and not doing the with all of the what do you call it again, the
flying near metal, and when you get into trouble, go up and what's the other one?
Take all of the what's the names off, the in flying ATI mode.
ATI mode, that's the one. Have you practiced in ATI mode?
No, but I'm going to after the show, mate. I'm definitely
Yeah.
Look, it's actually something, when you do commercial flying, it's expected that you actually practice flying in ATI mode so that when stuff happens, you can actually get out of trouble.
Yeah, well, I mean, before I bought this one, I did have a little $100 drone, and that didn't have any, what do you call them, sensors or whatever on it. So I did learn to fly to get the confidence enough to think, yes, I love this, and I'm going to buy something a bit better. So it's good. It's really good.
Yep, good to hear. Good to hear. So what else have you been up to? Oh, there's Mr. Spike. He's turned into a question mark. His internet out there in outback Australia is questionable. He's back.
There he is.
And, here we go. Back again. I've got the 5G on as well, so I'm surprised that we're getting dropout here. Telstra Tower's just across the road, so I should really have a great connection. But look, before I go, I'd like to give a massive shout out who's on the chat now. Lloyd, as you know, Greg, it was his birthday yesterday, So happy birthday, Lloyd. A live happy birthday chat to you, man. Shout out.
Yeah, Lloyd, for those who might not have seen it, there was a happy birthday video to Lloyd, the grumpy vlogger. He's an interesting character, John. I don't know if you've seen his channel or not, but he vlogs every day, and he's known as the grumpy vlogger. He's got that kind of interesting personality.
That's his rave. I get it.
And the community got together and we created a birthday video. I added 2 extra grumpy characters into the mix, the grumpy guys out of the Muppets, but it was all good.
Sorry, I can't help myself.
It's okay, Spike. It's okay.
Oh, dear.
So,
there's another one here I wanted to... Oh, that's it. Oh, who's that? Yeah. The drone bum as well. He's on his phone. And he's watching us and tuned in. So thank you very much, Mr. Bum. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Oh, someone is saying no audio. No audio for who? I can see when I talk the things going up. Can you talk?
Yeah, testing 1, 2. Hello, check.
It's all going out. So Mr. Hilton is telling me we've got no audio. It's probably delayed like all things. The internet is...
Yeah, it's a bit like it's been said in the chat, like an old Chinese movie, you know.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. Look, thanks for jumping in at short notice for a quick little say hello. What I'm going to do,
welcome.
We're going to put you into a box for a little while, a spike in a box. We're going to bring you back. We're going to bring you back a little bit later, and we'll have you talk through our Oz videos when we get to that point in the show.
Hey, Greg, I just had a chance to go through this chat there, and I can see Mick Malloy got his REPL this week. Congratulations. Anyone else get their REPL recently? Because that's a comment we're going to make later. Let us know on the if you're a new holder. Be great to hear.
Absolutely. So let's do this. We had our quick little interlude. We've got 3 more news stories. Let's go to one of those now. The first one being Volvo. Now, before we talk about anyone being Volvo drivers, we're not talking about cars. We're talking about the Volvo Ocean Race. Let's play the video.
Absolutely. Yeah, fantastic. Let's look at it.
So this one, if you go into YouTube and just Google the Volvo, how sailing is captured, has drones on every boat. And stunning footage ever seen on the planet. This is taken
circling around Greg of the guy who threw the Phantom out of one of those sailboats one time in the Southern Ocean. Fantastic bit of footage too, flying the Phantom 4 out the window. Oh, look at that. I don't know how it copes with the spray, but obviously if you zoom in and you've got a zoom camera, you can manage that. But lovely flying, guys there. Really good work.
The Mavic Zoom would be interesting out there now that you do have some zoom capability.
Yeah, it would. Look, zoom, you wouldn't think you'd need it, but actually it's a fantastic thing to have on a quad. Just being able to frame the shot properly from a position, where you might not be able to get in. Look at that. And, you could be backing up from that pretty quickly, and yet it looks like you're flying right next to it. So it's quite deceiving. But lovely stuff. Look at that. Nothing better than to shoot, I'm starting to notice more and more, of course, now every time you see a shot on a show, TV series, news, whatever, you can say, okay, I can see how that was shot. And it's just amazing how much aerial imagery is being used now in vision, what was once probably a bit beyond many filmmakers, startup filmmakers. Oh, magic. Look at that. That's gold.
So we'll leave that there and just again suggest people Google the Volvo video.
I'll be watching that one for sure.
The Volvo Ocean Race. I'll update the description at the end to put a link to that one. Make sure that's in there.
Sure.
And from there, we want to talk about Donald Trump.
Oh, do we have to? I mean, really?
Look, this one was interesting. What I'm going to do is play the video in the background. Let's put that up now. Here's what I want to do. So as a bit of a quiz or challenge, ask people if they can identify where that is from.
I can't see a wall.
No, this is it's not Niagara Falls. It's not Niagara Falls.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that too. So, is he going to build a wall?
Well, someone has invited President Trump to build a golf course at this location.
I see. Yep. Yep.
So I'm curious. It's no prize, just a fun little quiz competition. Because can anyone work out where this is?
A golf course. Yeah. No idea.
Now I understand there's some lag, so I'm just looking in the chat, and it might take some time for you guys to catch up. But let's put that video full screen.
Oh, it looks like Australia.
It's not.
A second, it looked like.
This is.
Oh wow.
And Zimbabwe's leader said on September 26th that he had offered land in Zimbabwe's Victoria Falls to President Trump to build a golf course in their national park.
Excellent.
I thought that was just amusing, and I had to go and look for some drone footage to...
Moving right along. Very
Look,
good. Nice footage.
Nice footage. You can laugh about it, but on a serious note, it's actually helpful to people in some of the countries that are not necessarily so well off to have some investment. But
I understand that too, for sure.
Moving on, having a look at use of drones in industry, and in particular in the energy sector, we've got a cool video. Let's put it up.
We're already using drones in our string lines because it's just a drone that you pull out of the truck and then you fly it across. It's done very quickly and it's done very safely. We're not having to get helicopters in, and it's people playing with them and the network, and that's the real trick to it. And so we're
turn the audio
file
off.
Footage. You don't use a Phantom 4 to do power line inspections.
Not to do inspections. What they're actually doing, they're using the Phantom 4 with some very lightweight cable to go, not cable, nylon string to thread it over the top and pull a line behind it.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yep, that's good.
But, it was interesting that they were using that.
Yeah, it's still a pretty reliable airplane on the job. No problem at all.
It is. And I've got one more video for us to have a look at today. Let's just throw that one up. So again, this is industrial use of drones.
Thermal imaging or infrared?
Infrared imaging, but what this is actually some railway companies going and filming graffitis and vandals and catching them.
Yeah, right. In the middle of the night.
Yeah, this is down in Melbourne. So interesting.
Good work.
Pardon me.
Greg, I was going to jump and add this onto the end of our little news clip today, and ask you a couple of questions. As we've had some guys chime in getting their REOC recently. Just the fact that when you've got your REPL, in your license in Australia, for those listening overseas, your Part 107, I suppose, but not a waiver, how you got integrated into work, because of we were doing insurance assessment, as you know, and there are a number of inductions to do and a number of, if you like, the company operations as well. So if you were going to say to someone once they're joining a company to do a simple task, they'd need 2 or 3 days to put aside to get ready for that kind of stuff. Your estimation?
To do a simple task like what?
Well, to get together and manage what you did this week in a roof inspection with ortho, video, stills, managing the client, induction for the contractor on site, stuff, on and on it goes. It's a bit of a list.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of work, fair bit of thinking and planning, and even things like going and refreshing your memory about things that you need to do from a regulatory perspective. So I did my REPL some time back, and I had to go and refresh my memory about things that I need to do to be compliant with best practices around that as well. So yeah, it does take a good 2 or 3 days worth of thinking. Inductions, yeah, I had to go and do some online training for that as well, and that was fine.
Yep.
But yeah,
fairly straightforward. But again, I suppose the document procedure is another one that comes into play in terms of what documents you've got to have on a commercial job, what signatures they've got to have on them, and what permissions have got to be in place as well.
Yeah.
Not necessarily rocket science at all, but just for those that have got their REPL now and looking to work for a REOC holder or a company that has it. Just keep everything fresh in your mind from your training and be prepared. Whatever the type of work you're doing, there's going to be inductions and all sorts of site skills to learn as well where you're flying. But
absolutely.
Yep.
And one thing that I love, I use Air Data. I've subscribed to that service, and having that available to keep a log of your flights, to keep a log of your maintenance. It's got maintenance logging in there as well.
Yeah, that's right.
It even tells you, based on the number of hours flown and the number of flights and battery usage, it gives you a checklist of maintenance activities to perform. And I think that's a really, really great service.
Yep. Okay, good stuff. And the final follow-up on the flights that we did testing this week, we had a failure in the Parrot Disco, which was unusual. On departure, the aircraft was climbing out, and it just decided to roll on its back and fly into the ground. Never done it. It's done over 75 flights, the aircraft itself, not a scratch on it. On the particular day where we had CASA there doing some testing.
It's always the way.
Tom launched the aeroplane, and I mean, you can see it was a failure. We looked at the logs, and CASA said, well, that's not pilot error, but these things happen. And the other thing I want to remind everybody about, because I was flying an aircraft I wasn't familiar with at all, large octocopter, is to make sure you do that ADI flying. Make sure that you go out, every 4 or 5 times when you're flying. Just do some ADI flying, take off, have a little fly around. Remember, fly a couple of figure eights in it just to burn up some battery, and get that done. Because if you don't, you'll need those skills one day, and particularly when you're going for your test. They'll expect you to fly pretty much all the manoeuvres in ADI mode without GPS. So and right now, all of the drone freestylers and racing guys are just shaking their heads and saying, "What are you talking about?" They have the skills to do it. The guys who race, the guy who fly free skill, they are flying without GPS and do it and because they're practiced at it. That's it. They're not lazy. They practice the skill. They'll tell you how many times they crash, like all the time. And that's because, it requires a unique skill set. If you don't do it for a little while, they'll drop off. So remember, everybody, ADI mode, change into it every third flight, do a landing, do a takeoff, just a little bit of it. Stay fresh, keep the thumbs working.
And speaking of that, I love how last week we had Malice Vex, and he was talking about the number of bags of props that he goes through when he's flying.
I still talk about that, the bags of props. Yeah, exactly. So,
okay, let's move on. So I want to talk today about a mod for a Phantom 4 Pro, and it's one that you mentioned ages and ages ago that you had done to your aircraft.
Yep.
And I went and purchased one of these myself. I haven't put it on yet, but just before we talk about it, we'll put some photos up in the background. And John, you can tell me why you got this in the first place yourself.
Well, it looked like a good mod for me. The weight was fine. So these prop hubs that we have are made of alloy, very light alloy. Unlike the plastic ones, they're certainly not susceptible to break at all. And remember, that's what's holding the prop on. You're not likely to have a prop failure, but a prop hub failure is more likely in terms of the way it's attached. You've got to check them very carefully. Now, one thing to mention, if you buy these, Greg... Just
while you keep talking, just to show people how quick and easy it is, I'm going to actually go and mount these while we're chatting here.
Well, one of the things that we're going to talk about mounting is that it comes with some screws. Now for the Phantom 4 Pro. Now what you're going to find, Greg, as you tighten those screws down a little bit, they are too long.
It didn't come with screws, my one, so I've got to use the existing ones.
In that case, you're fine. Use the existing ones. Be cautious if you use the screws that came with it. I think that's probably why the later kits don't have the screws, because they were substandard. So not only they're a slightly softer metal, but they're too long. So what you do, if you don't have screws, you want to replace the screws, use the P4 screws. That's not the Phantom 4 Pro or Advanced, but the actual P4, the original P4. Those screws are slightly shorter, and they'll torque down nicely onto those mounts and sit much better. Remember to use Loctite thread locker whenever you're working with a drivetrain on an aircraft. You need to have that tiny bit of thread locker on the screws as well. And you'll probably
in which case I won't put that in today.
Well, you might, Greg, you might see a little bit of thread locker on the screw. If you take one out, have a look at it very, very closely, and you'll see a little bit of thread lock actually or residue on the screw itself. And if it's the right type, if it's a blue type, you may not need to reset it. It's like plumbing tape, I suppose, in terms of it's a rubberized rather than glue, and the rubber will help seat the screw much better. So you look
back to the previous question though. What was the reason? Why would they be better?
Well,
like you mentioned, if I remember correctly, you mentioned that you thought there was a bit more play in the plastic one in terms of what you actually saw on your aircraft.
Not so much play; it was durability. And I just thought, well, why would they exist? I mean, people can mod their aircraft a number of ways. You see all sorts of things that get brought in, but alloy prop hubs, particularly, I suppose, if they're really nicely balanced and they sit nicely on the aeroplane, just seem like a good idea. I would always replace plastic with light alloy in the drivetrain, as I said, if I've got a chance to. That might be foolish. It might seem science behind it, but I can tell you that if I put a test on them, the plastic ones would break before the alloy would. Now, not that alloy doesn't break, of course, it does.
So some good news. First of all, I did have the blue Loctite, but here's the interesting thing: the center of that that mount there is smaller in diameter than the plastic one that I took off. That's okay. The existing one had the spring locked down below it.
Yep.
I cannot put this one on. That's interesting.
It won't go.
If I put this on, I can put the spring on top, but there's nothing to stop the spring from now falling away.
No retainer.
No retainer.
How is it retained on the original?
On the original, you put...
underneath.
Yeah, so you put the spring underneath, and the center core is going to retain that underneath.
Yes, I see what you mean. That should still work. I mean, I don't know what model you got. These are made by various other companies. So, again, if you're not happy with it, I wouldn't change it.
I'm not happy with it. I'm going to leave the originals on there. I wanted to do this. I had this really grand vision of doing this live on air and having it perfectly finished and completed by the time we had our chat.
That's not going to happen.
I'm unhappy with the product, so don't buy it. I'll have to get more details about the good ones later.
Yeah, we'll have a look at for the right ones. There are a number of different mods, but look, if you're not flying a great deal, and you're not gonna wear the plastic ones out, leave the airplane as stock wherever you can. There's not really much to do other than gimbal guard. Anything like that can be handy if you're flying in rough areas or grassed areas. A gimbal guard's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. I'll put those 3 screws on later.
Here's one I prepared earlier.
Yeah, look, like I said, I thought it was going to be something really, really simple as a good way of improving the durability of your aircraft.
Yeah, well, we have found it to be. I mean, I must admit, they fit well. The ones I got fit well, and they work well. They've been on the airplane for over 12 months, so I haven't had a problem.
Okay. Let's move on from there. A couple of things. I noticed the Nightbot's been on the screen for a while there. I don't know if, Mel, you're in the room, if it stopped bringing chat messages up. But if it has, we'll take that off the screen. We'll just leave it for a little while. Moving on. So,
Greg Hilton wants a link in the description for that stuff. So let's do that.
I'll put the link in there, but based on what I've just had a look at today, that particular one, you don't want it.
What'd they cost you?
$10.
There you go. $10 to look.
Look, $10 to look, but I'm not going to keep it. And the medal, it won't hurt the props. Rick is asking.
How about I go and check out the ones I've got, and we'll find the right deal. And I'll have a little bit of research on the forum too, where we initially started discussing them. So we'll bring that to you next week, folks, if you want to know about that. No problem.
Okay.
We'll sort that out. And a couple of other mods as well. So.
Absolutely. Let's move on. Just a couple of quick things. Our competitions that we've been running. I forgot to share last week with all of our tech problems we had what it is for this week's competition. So I don't have one for you, but for next week, the ask is some video, some photos, whatever you like, flying over water. We saw some really good stuff from the Volvo event today, but send in some of that stuff. There's no official prize, except if you're in the US, we'll send you some Vegemite, so you can send us a video back of you trying to eat that. That'll be fun. Aussies, I don't have a prize for you, but you can still send us some really good footage. Speaking of which... Sorry,
Aussies don't mind getting Vegemite.
If you do want to send us something video-wise, upload at gregkuhnert.com. Just send a link to your video. You don't have to actually attach the video itself. That would be really good. So
lovely.
Moving on from there, our Aussie videos that we have a look at. Actually, before we move on, just quickly, speaking of which, the competition. We've got the Osmo giveaway when we hit 1,000 subscribers. Just reminding people about that. Tell your friends to enter the competition. Tell them to subscribe. The reason why that's interesting and helpful, we're slowly increasing, but I want to try and get to 1,000. At the moment, where are we? Let's put that up on the screen in a few moments. As the wonders of the internet, there we go. We got 706. It's climbing slowly. And my... I
love it when that happens. Yeah, okay, riveting.
I was on Crazy's channel earlier today, and a couple of people subscribed to me, and I subscribed them back, but then they went and unsubscribed me, I guess. That was RC Crazy. Anyway, that's life. The target is to get to 1,000 by the 19th of November. That's my birthday present, so I want you all to chip in for my birthday present. Get your mother-in-law or whoever to subscribe to the channel. That'd be cool. Anyway, back to the topic. Osmo Video Link, Come Down Under. That's the next one we've got for you.
Let's watch our videos.
Oops, wrong button. I was still on the other screen. I'll press that one instead. There we go. Now we're going to bring in Spike, his audio. Can we add that in over there? And Spike's going to tell us about some of this video.
Ah, yes. Hello, hello.
Let's watch.
Rightio, folks. What you're looking at here
and Spike...
Not getting me now, Greg.
Ah, you're back.
Oh, okay. And as you can see, folks, this was was it Thomas Livingstone Michael became the first European to sight the mountain in 1836. And this was entirely what was this film with, Greg? Doesn't say, doesn't matter.
I can't see it there, no.
Moving right along, folks. So here we are. This is where I used to live in Tasmania for a little while, Targa, Tasmania. It's fantastic. This is also footage taken in Cairns. This is through a Phantom 4 Pro. Targa, Tasmania is a tarmac-based rally event held in the island state of Tassie. Raced it many years ago. They also are in New Zealand and Ireland as well, so it's a vantage point.
I like this vantage point.
Okay. And Spike keeps on coming. in and out with his into some of the most remote corners of this wonderful continent. Lots of parts of this country do go unseen by many people, and certainly working on some of Australia's largest cattle stations, meeting people and working the land are memories that he says he will carry forever. And it is a beautiful country, and there's so much of it. I keep saying to my family, they want to go overseas. I say, let's go out to Upper, come back to West. And then we've got another video here from Ferg Taz. He's one of our regulars that we share. I've got to have him on the show. Dasher Falls is situated on Dasher River near Railton, Tasmania, consisting of 3 tiers. The waterfall drops down over huge boulders, and at the base of the falls, the pressure of the falling water. Friend? He's doing a thumbs down on the screen that we can see here, but and he's disappeared again off the screen. We will watch that video. There will be links to, and certainly this week Greg has a fair bit of Ferg Tasmania.
All batteries with you, and just do virtually, heaps of filming. Pop it out of the backpack. It's just I can see why DJI really have usable when you look at footage like this side of it.
Was created by a channel called Hungry Drone. Topic of the subject of the video: big ships and other marine life. This was filmed using a Mavic Pro 2.
Oh, nice.
This was filmed at the entrance to Port Botany, Australia's largest container terminal, during August and September 2018. Also, he captured a a whale and a pod of dolphins. The total video runs for 38 minutes. So as I said, we'll have a link to that in the video that we upload subsequently. So please do check that out.
Yeah, lovely.
And just to highlight that area, I haven't got my my VTC with me at the moment, but that would be pretty close to the flight path out of Mascot, wouldn't it?
No, you've got Romeo 407 harbour area, but you'll see plenty of traffic up there. So that sort of area, you stay down low.
Yeah,
very nice.
Some nice footage of those ships there. But just make sure I've got this right. So this was Botany, not Sydney Harbour.
Oh, I'm sorry. Botany, was it? Not Sydney Harbour. Of course it was. Okay. So I'm wrong about that then. So, yeah, you'd be close there. Very, very close.
So, I mean, he's flying pretty low level there. And while...
Well, it's not... It doesn't matter.
I was going to say, while it's pretty low level and unlikely to make contact with an aircraft, you do need to get approval to fly in that location.
Absolutely. In Botany you do, and right there you do for sure. Yeah. It's very nice, but you sure? It looks like, oh yeah, is that Botany Bay entrance there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is too. Okay. Yeah, that's a no-go there. He might be just far enough out off the Romo centre line, but if you come in and you can see the shoreline in the background, you're in the wrong area.
Yeah. Not trying to be the drone police, just educating people about where you can and cannot fly, and definitely within 5 Ks of the airport is a no-go zone.
5.5 Ks, yep.
5.5, sorry, John.
That's all right. No, just me. I take every half kilometre I can get.
Yeah. Okay. Look, we've come to the end of most of our show. We've got a couple of other little things that I wanted to share. Just, I try to keep the show to an hour. We got 5 minutes left. This was a viewer video that someone shared with me some time ago. It was a video out of Russia. And I've subtitled this "From Russia with Love." So let's have a look. It's something out of Moscow.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think this was necessarily the original work of the person who submitted it to us, but it's a beautiful, beautiful shot. And I've had it sitting in our playlist ready to play for a while, but we had a little bit of spare time today. I thought I'd throw it in.
Absolutely, that's magnificent.
Loving the gold roof.
Ah, Mr. Spiker's back.
Yeah, change the server. Better late than never. Look at this stunning sunset there in the background.
Yeah, that's great.
Is that Russia?
Yeah, it's in Moscow.
Oh, fantastic. Look at that old with the new. That's so good.
Yeah, nice work.
Whoa. And yet it's here.
So look, while that's what it is that people are talking about today, gone through the process and got permission, let's not make a call. What else have we got?
No, I didn't see that. I must check that out. Oh, that's fantastic work. Look at the way the reflection's working on it. Yeah.
Beautiful footage. And I think Spike's disappeared and come back again, and his audio's disappeared again.
Shot on Inspire too.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, sorry, Spike, I don't know what's happening with your audio, and I don't know what's happening with the titles. We're having lots of fun today.
Sure are.
Yeah. By the way, just to share with people, the show crashed last week, close to the end. They sent me a different version of Wirecast, which is spitting out lots of debug logs. I'm actually silently hoping the show crashes today so I can send them lots of logs.
No, don't do that.
Look, just following up on some of the things in the chat, Bob Brown saying, unsure if the NBN would make the audio sync issue better or worse. I don't know. What else have we got here? We know it's out of sync, can't be fixed. Yes, a copy of this will be uploaded later. Dronebook, please do check out Dronebook. It's Facebook for droners.
And also check out Drone Camp, everybody. Dronecamp.info.
Absolutely.
Check it out and see it's on next year. So if you're a high school student, you're watching, or perhaps you want to contribute as an adult, we'll check it out. Go and have a look at the website.
Yeah, please do. John and I will be doing that project together. It'll be with a bunch of other people. It'll be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
What else have we got left here? A message from 400 AGL. We'd like to offer a special salute to Telstra, our wonderful internet service provider. I don't know if it should be a salute or the royal salute, but anyway, enough said. That's about all we got time for today. Thanks for being here, John. Thanks for being here in the background, Spike.
Yep.
We will be back again next time, and we'll hopefully have Stump the Yank if we've got an American guest. We're still locking in our guest for next week. It may be Eric from eDrone, yet to be confirmed. But that's all for now. See you next time.
See you, everybody. Happy
Bye-bye.
landings.